The latest. Thank you for your love and support. I appreciate you all. How did we get here? A small party in the UK called the UK Reform Party is out again. And they are claiming that any country demanding for reparation will be banned from entry into the United Kingdom, including Jamaica, Ghana, Kenya, Nigeria, Sri Lanka. And the same Zia Yusuf, who is making these claims, is from Sri Lanka. And even Sri Lanka is demanding for reparation. The leaders in Africa who are demanding for reparation, we ask you, ever since these people left, what have you yourselves used our resources for? For decades that you people have led us after Nkrumah, after Lumumba, Sankara, what at all have you people used our resources for? We are not supposed to be the people that should be begging. If we had leaders who were protecting the people and not protecting borders like the ECOWAS chairperson said, we wouldn't be the people begging for reparation. Always I say that reparation is not something that as Africans we should channel our energy to. Even though, yes, it's good that we ask for it, but if we people should have kept our house in order, the same people we are chasing would have been doing the other way around. For how long have they left? What at all have our leaders been able to do for ourselves? The same people who are talking about reparation are the same people who are still signing security partnership with these people. The same people are still the ones that are moving closer to these people from EU country to the other. These are the same people who are still making them to understand and feel that the African cannot do anything for him or herself. These are the same people that are still allowing these people to divide us after the 1884 Berlin Conference. Because if you are signing security pacts with people who are against the leaders in Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, because you believe that they need to give you protection so that what is happening in these countries wouldn't transfer into Ghana, who are you?
If a country was formerly, in effect, a slave colony and comes to us now demanding reparations, why isn't it enough just to say, no, bye?
Because it's quite reasonable for a country to stand up for its national interest. And I think British people have just had enough of Britain being ridiculed on the world stage and for the British taxpayer to be basically an ATM for many countries around the world. If you were to look at the countries currently making demands for reparations of this country, the Tories and Labour over the last 20 years have issued those countries' nationals 3.8 million visas and given them £6.6 billion, that's billion with a B, in foreign aid over the last 20 years. And so, look, countries are well within their rights to make whatever demands that they want, but this country should have leadership that has the backbone to say, look, if you're going to make such crazy demands, and some of the numbers being thrown around, by the way, are in the trillions, while there is a cost of living crisis here, I think it's perfectly reasonable for British people to say enough is enough.
But why penalise individuals? Let's say somebody coming from, for the sake of argument, Jamaica, who has nothing to do with any potential government policy to ask for reparations for slavery hundreds of years ago. It's not on their agenda. They want to come here for all sorts of valid reasons. Why punish them?
I think you're making the precise argument about why British taxpayers and British people should not be punished and humiliated on the world stage. In the end, it is a privilege. I think people have forgotten this important fact. It is not a right to come into Britain. Just as British people don't have a right to do whatever they want, the reality is that it is a privilege to be able to come to this country. And what we don't want is this country going down the path of having people coming to this country and airing ethnic grievances. It runs against every aspect of English common law to try and hold supposed sins from centuries ago against people in this country today. And people watching this program, listening to this show, paying their taxes, struggling in a cost of living crisis, when they see headlines that countries are demanding trillions of pounds in compensation for things that happened centuries ago, I think they are rightly aghast. And I want to make the point, this is actually a very important point. It insults the memory of the heroes of the West Africa Squadron, which was a squadron of His Majesty's Royal Navy set up in 1808 to enforce the ban on the slave trade that Britain had created. Britain was the first major power to prohibit slavery, and it cost Britain thousands of sailors. Britain spent the modern equivalent of billions of pounds on enforcing the prohibition on slavery. So I think Britain actually deserves a lot of credit for that.
They're now all demanding trillions of pounds in reparations, encouraged to do so by the United Nations, yes, who seem to be on a completely anti-UK kick. Of course, that includes the idea that Chagos Islands should be given to Mauritius. The idea that we are the only country in the history of mankind guilty for slavery is, of course, totally absurd. It predates us by thousands of years. It's still going on today. And what is totally forgotten in this is that we were the country that spent decades, huge amounts of treasure, and thousands of lost lives of British sailors driving slavery off the high seas. So our response is very, very clear. No more visas coming from these countries until you stop these ludicrous demands for trillions of pounds of British taxpayers' money. And by the way, these countries over the last 2 decades, 3.8 million of their citizens have come and settled in Britain. And we've given them £6.6 billion in aid. Enough is enough. It's time to put the interests of our own country first. To all of those countries on that list, stop insulting us. Let's get our relationship back to where it ought to be. And we're the only party that's got the guts to say no more visas until these claims end.
This is for entertainment purposes only. So before the ink could dry on the UN declaration that transatlantic slavery and colonialism was the worst crime against humanity ever committed, African nations are already knocking on the colonizers' doors, and they're in a panic. They're in a total panic, family. In fact, the divided kingdom is trying to intimidate African nations by passing a law, a certain immigration law, that would strip people from nations that seek reparations from Britain of either work permits or like tourism visas and all those visas and all stuff. Can you imagine calling it an insult that the colonized, that the slaves would dare to seek reparations from the crown? That's what they're thinking, for real, for real. And so it must be abundantly clear to you, to all of us by now, that they have never and still don't intend to live in a world where we are liberated, because we are the engine of humanity. French stops feeding on Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger and becomes a third world country overnight. But all they have now is immigration laws, because we're back. And the kind of leaders incoming can't be taken out, can't be corrupted. If you know, you know. But they've changed the rules of the game so many times that you can't for a second believe that they'll finally be fair and give Africa its redemption. But the reason Africa is pushing for the UN to declare this and that is because what got us here in the first place was agreements and contracts and deals. Some we understood, some we didn't. Some we thought were one way, but they were actually another way. That's how we got here. Through lying, stealing, omitting, glossing over. And this whole confusion we're in is because of certain agreements that were made in the spirit with unknowingly by our so-called forefathers. And so don't take lightly this thing. of the UN declaring transatlantic slavery as the worst crime ever, because it opens doors and it opens portals for justice to come in.
A UK political party called Reform UK is proposing to ban the visas of countries who had voted for reparations for slavery. As an advocate of Jamaica and someone who is in talks and has conversations and knows people on the ground and has family in Jamaica, I would like to invite you all to a protest that's occurring on April 13th to speak out against British colonialism and to retrieve Jamaica back to the people. Now, although Jamaica claims to be an independent country, it is still very much owned by the British. The British High Court have the ability to overturn and override what the Jamaican courts say. And that's why we've seen certain people released from prison when the Jamaican government did not support that as such. Nor did many of the Jamaican people, let's just be honest. But most importantly, the British monarchy has taken advantage of the vulnerability of the people in Jamaica. They are guilty of violating the human rights of Jamaicans. And it's time for Jamaicans to stand up against them. It's time for all of us to use our voice and start speaking out. And if you are in Jamaica, then please join us on March 13 to speak out against the injustices that have been happening toward Jamaicans in Jamaica at the hands of the British monarchy. Join us on April 13 at 11 a.m. at the JDF Admiral office. Fight with your fellow Jamaicans and stand up for what's right. This is the No British Imposter protest. If you'd like more information, please check the caption where you can give us a shout and we can support you along the way. One Jamaica.
Reform plans to stop issuing visas from countries which demands reparations from the UK because of slavery, with the party insisting Britain will no longer be ridiculed on the world stage. Reform's Home Affairs spokesperson said that the bank is closed and the door is shut. Reform's Home Affairs spokesperson said that the bank is closed and the door is locked for anyone who's trying to use history as a weapon to drain their treasury. Really though? So we're going to act like the UK didn't have their hand in the transatlantic slave trade? Okay. Big brother, for real, we're going to act like this? Get out of here, man. Get out of here. See, they don't like the fact that people are speaking up. They want people to be docile, walk around oblivious like they don't deserve nothing. But when you think of any other nationality, the Jewish community, Japanese community, there's so many communities who were paid reparations. But when it comes to African descendants, we talking about the U.S., we talking about people in Ghana, Jamaica, Barbados, Peru, Belize, they don't want to pay. But now, we're gonna revoke your visa. You can't come over here. Man, I knew they was gonna try to pull some bullshit move, but all I can say is this is a part of the fight. Sometimes you gotta just play chess. They're playing checkers, but just play chess, keep on strategizing, keep uniting, and also, won't you give up those artifacts? Do I need to see Killmonger over there? Killmonger go get that shit for us, man. Go get those artifacts, man. Give up all that shit y'all got over there. That belongs to Nigeria. That belongs to, Ghana. That belongs to South Africa. Give it all up. Run me that right now. Let me know what y'all talk about in the comment section, y'all. Salute.
We are the reason to which these people are treating us this way. Our leaders should spare us all this more and all these things that they are doing. Personally, I wasn't happy when this resolution came out because you can't tell me that you are fighting for reparation, you are fighting for the African, yet you still allow these people to be establishing their bases here. You are the same people who are allowing these people to come into the continent to carry the resources away. You are the same people that are giving out our resources and getting 9, 10 6% out of it, and you ask us to hail you. You are the same people who are still moving from one IMF loan to the other. And yet when you bring this money into the country, we don't see you doing anything with it. You are the same people who still go and take these IMF loans, make life unbearable for your people, because the conditions that they give to you at the end of the day doesn't favor your people. You are the same people who still believe that you need these people in order to survive. So why won't a small party like this in the UK talk to us 1.something billion people the way they want? We are the same people who are preaching Pan-Africanism, sitting in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, demanding for things and asking for the African solution to the African problem, and always writing scripts and reading them to us, talking without actions. And when we have leaders in Africa who have risen to unite the African, we are the same people who are pointing fingers at them, calling them undemocratic juntas. Yet we, those who are protecting democracy, and we praise ourselves for how well we have maintained democracy from one republic to the fourth republic, are the same people that are suffering. The same people that are fighting against the progress. Because if truly we are looking for reparation, we should be the ones that will be teaming up with our brothers and sisters, and not to be claiming that what is happening to our brothers and sisters in the Sahel should not spread to where we are. What at all have you been able to do? We are seeing African leaders who are still thinking about important things into the continent. The same leaders who are calling for reparation, who are talking about how they want to change the economy, are the same people that are making sure that we become economic slaves to other people. These are the same people who prefer to give waivers to even Yolo Popo, the white man who comes to look for or do a business here. And these are the same people who allow their Bank of Ghana or whatever central bank that they have to be increasing and demanding 200,000 United States dollars from young African youth who have labored, and they have been able to get something to establish something that can even give jobs to their brothers and sisters. Look at the amount of money these people are demanding, yet we keep saying that we don't need to sign this Trumu bill because we think that it is not something that is important right now because we need to deal with unemployment. How can you deal with unemployment when in that same country called Ghana, we have Bank of Ghana demanding $200 from these young ones that manage to get something to do, and they can't give them free waivers because these things that they are doing isn't a bank they are running. We are the people who are allowing these people to be doing this to us. After you finish talking about reparation and calling for what they have done to us to be the gravest crime, listing the pain, the rape, the everything, you are the same people who still go and be on their tables begging for one thing to the other. And when you come out, you expect these people to buy into your ideas. How did we get here? So African leaders say you need to come again. You are the reason to which we are going through this. If you people should have kept things in place properly, I don't think that this small party can look into the face of Africans and talk to us this way. Which of these people can talk to Iran today like this? Because Iranians have come together united. We are rather dividing ourselves more. Because when you even get the chance to be in the presence of these people, instead of you to speak as a continent, you are talking about my country, and my country is doing this, my country is doing that. You don't even speak as a people. But when you need reparation, you want to speak one voice for the reparation to be given to you. If truly you are looking for reparation, change your approach. Give back whatever the oppressor has given to us. Stop begging them and stop making us dependent on these people as if the African can do anything without them. And until you do that, these people will continue to treat you this way. United we stand, divided we fall. And united we keep standing forever and ever. The greatest enemy of the African is mental slavery. So let's decolonize ourselves from mental slavery. Let's keep sharing to educate our brothers and sisters. Together we make Africa great for ourselves and the next generations that are going to come. So that's the latest around the world and in the United Kingdom.